Alright, and this is the first time I'm doing a video on it, but I think it might be a little bit faster for me, so I'm decided to try it. Hopefully I won't take too long to upload it for you to take a look at it. But yeah, I assume that your starting is pretty okay, so I'm not going to worry about that too much. Grunt's going out, scouting, good. Checking stuff out, sees the enemy, runs back, okay. Slow down a little bit. Okay. Check back at your base real quick. Yep, everything looks pretty good. Okay, you got a CT going up for the Geo there. Alright, so you see some opposition. Okay. Yeah, you take the hill, you're defending it. Looks pretty good. Personally, I like to be a bit more aggressive, but I mean, that's me. I tend to do some crazy stuff sometimes. Like you might be able to, well, he has the LLT there, so it's kind of hard to get in there, but you might have the opportunity to take these out, but you might end up losing some guys in the process too. I'll try to help green out a little bit. I'm going to slow it down a bit. Alright, so the salmon color is pushing his LLTs a little bit forward. That puts a bit of pressure on you. But yeah, you got mostly grunts. Actually, I would say, let's see, what are you producing now? Are you still on grunts? Okay, grunts with some agitator or aggravators. That's what they're called. I keep calling them agitators, but that's the artillery. Anyways, all right. So you're getting the Geo. Your energy's a little bit low here to be doing both the CT and the Geo. Just a little bit low. But yeah, that's almost done anyway, so it's probably fine. At this point, I would recommend maybe getting away from grunts a little bit, just because grunts, like they're great at first securing the area and setting up a line and getting there quickly and helping with some run-bys, if the run-bys are slower units anyway. But to hold a line, you may want some thugs out since you're core. Thugs and aggravators. Also, I'm noticing you have some more solars going up, like a continuous flow, which it isn't terrible, but since you have the Geo kind of finishing up, you might be able to switch into advanced solars because they're going to be more metal efficient. So looking back at the front line here, all right, so that engagement by you was okay. It could have been a little bit better, could have been a little bit worse. If you want more details on that, let me know. But yeah, it's kind of a minor thing. Like you could have maybe done more of a concave type thing, but you're pulling back when you need to and using the LLT to absorb some damage, so that works out okay for you. And then yeah, red still kind of smashes through a little bit. And this is a little bit rough because there's only one player at the bottom here. And they don't really have much pressure here because of all the LLT spam from red. So red is able to pressure up at the center area here. So he gets a little bit through, but I think green might have enough to at least like push him back a bit. So yeah, that looks okay. Nothing you can really do about that. It's just kind of me seeing the situation with lights green and red. And the fact that teal might be able to help out a little bit more than he actually did. Alright, so you decide to get a warden. I don't mind this, it's not, this kind of location and timing is not bad, but I am seeing your metal a bit high. Alright, so your build power is a bit low at this point. You have plenty of energy, plenty of metal. You decide to get the vehicle lab up here, which not a bad choice, but you could use some more build power at home. I suppose you could get some more build power up here as well if you wanted to. like depending on if you prefer to get more vehicles or more bots. Um, but yeah, personally, I like to get more build power on the first lab before making a second lab, and that way you're just continuously generating a ton of units. Like if you had some more build power here and got the lab a little bit later, you could have a lot of thugs out right now, potentially. Something to keep in mind. Okay, so these are dragon maws up here. That's gonna be hard to push into with your grunts here. Yeah, I would say you're not like over porking too hard. It looks okay. Got artillery's working on the statics of the enemy. Oof. Couple of shots here from the agitator. Yeah, I would actually recommend, since you have such an investment in this area, and you know that they went for, a plasma artillery like that, a static one, I would actually recommend putting up a jammer with your bot here and the utilities. Just putting a jammer up, makes it hard. I mean, obviously they can't attack it then, just using radar. And then also it adds ambiguity to like how strong that position actually is. And that way, like, you could actually just get like a few grunts, or actually you could potentially get nothing at all and just go tier 2 off of that. Um, but yeah, obviously you don't need to do that because you do have, you bought a T2 from your buddy in the back, and you're, working on your mexes right now. I would actually recommend having these, well, yeah, I mean, it's not dire that you need units right now, so I'd actually recommend trying to put a little bit more build power to get your mexes quicker. Um, yeah, I mean, I'm just noticing that your build power is pretty spread out with your con turrets, because you got two actually, yeah, you got two on your bot lab, one making, okay, so you did switch net advanced. Okay, so that's good. Um, but yeah, you have one over here for your energy production. You have another one over here for the geo that you put up, and then you have two more, or no, just one more over here at your front line. And to me, that just feels very spread out. Whereas it feels a little bit more together, like within this region here, let's say, then the construction turrets could help build the metal extractors, and then they could also help build a fusion down the line, and they could help, just more things at once. I know not everybody will recommend putting all your build power together, but personally I like to have it together so that you can switch it to where it's needed. Like you can, crank out the T2 mechs really quickly, or you could crank out units if you need units at the time, or whatever it is, you can concentrate it on one thing instead of multiple things. Okay, let's move on here. So yeah, red has a lot of thugs here, and it's not going to be easy for pawn or for grunts to get in there. Bit of help from your lights blue player. Yeah, red's doing a good job pulling back here, making sure that you just take extra damage. Basically punishing you for attacking it. But also just looking at your north side. Oh wow, that's a lot of walls there. So yeah, if I know this isn't your fault, on you or anything like that. It just, I feel like with that many walls there, green should be kind of postured a little bit further south, since there's no way for the enemy to get through there at that point. Maybe even put some walls up of his own just to make sure that they don't get through immediately, if they like decide to take down some walls in the back or whatever. But yeah, that would actually help relieve pressure off of you a little bit from the northern side. And so it's kind of difficult because you're holding the line. If you push further, then you got, north side to deal with and south side to deal with. So you can't really push at this time either. And actually, with all the metal bank that you had, yeah, the T2 I think would have helped out a lot in this particular case. Maybe after you got like your mexes situated. Okay, doing some nice repairs. I would maybe recommend doing, you know, collecting these guys first, but I mean, that's such a minor thing, and the repairs are pretty important too. But yeah, it's just a little bit hard. So again, like, the difference I think between you and Red, I mean, other than like he has a couple of converters to just supply him with a little bit of extra income. Actually, he has T2 behind this too. But yeah, the reason why he has so many units out is because of this lab, this vehicle lab, and because your build power is so spread out. So I guess I just want to emphasize that a little bit. You know, it's just harder to get units out like that. Oh, this is painful. Oh, Green, get out of there! You're gonna blow up the base. Yeah, this is rough. This is definitely a huge setback. That vehicle plant couldn't do much with. So yeah, I guess, yeah, here's the other thing. Is because you built all this stuff in this forward position, like that's the thing about, you know, getting a forward plant, is it is very hard to keep it in a way, especially when you're the one kind of poking out. You know, like like if there's a solid line, like there's like I guess I can draw here. So, you know, if we think of it like this is kind of how the battle lines are drawn, and so you're poking out a little bit with this hill, and it makes it hard to defend it. So in a way, I guess I wouldn't recommend vehicles in this particular spot, or having, you know, such a forward plant in this particular spot, just because it is poking out and it's going to be easier for them to assault it, especially given the walls up here. Not that, you know, you might not even know about these walls. I guess I could put it on vision and find out. Yeah, so you don't even have any clue of that, so that's not really on you either. But yeah, just looking at the situation with poking out and all that. Let's move on. If you have questions on any of this, of course, feel free to ping me or another mentor or whatever. Yeah, this is rough. I mean, that's such a big investment that you lost in the middle there. And then, yeah. And you didn't really get help from other players either. Green had to retreat. I'm curious to know what other people are doing. Okay, so Green got his T2 up. Teal has his T2 up as well. No T2 up from the backline player. I'm kind of surprised, but well, I guess, you know, he's a lower rank, so that does make sense. But yeah, that's a bit rough when everyone tries to get T2 at the same time, and it allows like the other team to push pretty significantly. Yeah, so quite a few of them have T2 as well. I know it's just it's a weird thing, like when to get T2, you know, and I'm noticing that you didn't, and you were trying to hold, but it's hard to hold against so many players, so it feels rough, and it's not necessarily your fault in a way. So you're doing what you can. Looks like he balled up a bit, so that's kind of nice for your plasma. Oh, he really just like sent them and forgot about him. Alright, so now you're rebuilding. You decide to stop rebuilding this, get units first. I don't mind that. That's probably a good call in this situation. It's quite a few pawns. I definitely feel like there's stuff that they could, like some of these pawns could be like harassing places, but I suppose that is risky too. Oh, so these are your bombers. Wait, when did that happen? Were you gifted the bombers? Oh no, those are purple bombers. Okay. For some reason they looked blue for a minute, and I was like, it felt really strange. Yeah, purple bombers. You're just rebuilding, collecting some thugs from the enemy. Yeah, I mean, this looks reasonable. You just got pushed back. You don't want to take, this location immediately because, of the status of the rest of the team. So you're just kind of holding back like this. This is fine. But yeah, I mean, it's like in this kind of situation, since a lot of people ended up going T2 pretty quickly, your job is basically just to hold while they do that. And hopefully the Techer and Air player and stuff can hold it, hold it basically starting now. But at the same time, they might be looking at how much units you have and saying, well, our front's okay, maybe I can, tech up a little bit harder or eco a little bit harder, I mean. But yeah, green's starting to get a couple of units out. Let's see. What's this guy? Oh, he just goes straight into LRPC. That's a little bit rough because, there's no one helping you on the front then. Man, Zars is so good against T1 bots. Okay, Sheldons are out. Let's see, what are you doing at this point? You're getting... Okay, so you're getting the Fiends out. You got some switchers helping your T2 bot. Okay, a little bit of static. Yeah, it's not bad. I would like to see a jammer, since you do have the T2 now. Because then the Sheldons have a harder time. Jammer, radar. I'd highly recommend getting those basically every single time. They're so cheap, so no matter what composition you have, like, they're pretty useful. But I would say especially useful when you're up against Sheldons, or if you're going sniper or Sheldons yourself. Oh, decent bombing run. Yeah, you're doing some nice work here. By the way, Fiends actually have a nice AoE, or a nice self-destruct damage. Let's see, do you have any left? I'm trying to find it for you. Shoot. Oh, here's one. Alright, so basic damage, they do it in bursts of 105. Short range, you know all this already. If you hold shift while you hold space, you can see the death explosion radius, or not radius, but the damages. So it's shift and space to see this. You can also do space and X to get the radius. Okay, so it's this really small radius to self-D. It's just that little yellow circle around them. But the self-D actually does 220 damage, whereas if they just die, it's only 11. And the AoE is more significant. Like the 18 AoE from the death explosion isn't even going to show up here because it's so small. But the if we do the X in space again, there's this yellow ring that shows the self-destruct. So it's within that radius, it does significantly more. So if you're able to run up on those Sheldons and self-D, it's really pretty strong. Though it is hard to do because of the self-destruct timer and because you have to get very close to do it. But I thought I'd just throw that out there in case you ever did get close to the Sheldons. Got some Sheldons of your own. Okay, so here's your jammer and radar. Okay, so you're just waiting a bit until you had some Sheldons out. But yeah, this is going to be a rough game just because your allies aren't terribly helpful. Yeah, and Red just did a really good job with his eco. Whoa. What the heck was that? Is that the LRPC? I should pause. Where's the LRPC? Here it is. I mean, it must have been, right? I don't know. It's just a lot of guys dying at once. So I guess I'll look at the stats a little bit here though too. So red has quite a bit of metal produced. Does make me wonder where he produced it from. I mean, maybe just because he has such a forward position. Like he just has more mechs that are T2 at this point. I'm actually not sure if reclaim is a part of that stat, but yeah, a lot of it's going into defenses from you. But yeah, you're crawling back to claim this area. I'm not entirely sure what this is for yet. I can only assume it's for spam in a minute, but yeah, obviously you're getting your fusion going first. Yeah, and if you're not going to use your T1 lab, I would highly recommend reclaiming it. But yeah, it seems like you're also going air to get the fighters out for the fighter screen. Yeah, I mean that's kind of rough because you're spending a lot of money on fighters and the aircraft plants. You know, and this is after losing the T1 vehicle lab and the center that you had. But I'm wondering if there is there should be a dedicated air, right? That's what purple is. So I feel like you should be able to just trust purple with it, and if he doesn't do it, then I don't know. Then I guess you just blame it on him. But he should definitely have fighters out, so you shouldn't worry about it too much. So I just don't. You know, I just think like putting all this metal into the aircrafts is going to set you back for, you know, for producing out of your T2 lab. Yeah, this doesn't feel necessary yet. It's a chunk of money there. And this is just a lot of contours like spread out everywhere. I mean, it's nice to have to build stuff faster, but I mean, they do have a cost. And switchers, I mean, they're not awful at getting the job done either. And they have a bit, you know, they definitely have less build power for the same amount of metal cost. But in a way, like since it's mobile, it's kind of reasonable. And this screamer does seem like a bit much, but I mean, you do see air, and you're able to use it. So I mean, it's not bad. It's just very expensive is the thing. Especially if you are also going, you know, with the T1 Air Lab. Got a nice spy bot here. Yeah, let's see what you see. Oh, there's an enemy spy bot here too. Okay, so yeah, with the Juno stuff coming out, you know, you don't really need as much radar and jammers and stuff. Or you could get, I mean, I say that, but you know, it's sort of like you could counter the Juno with just having more coming out. Let me kill that spy bot, that's nice. But yeah, either way, you don't really need, well, now you need it, but I was gonna say you don't really need the radar since you have the spy bots out, but I mean, it is nice to double up on it. And this is a little rough. There's plenty of fighter coverage here, but no. Oh, I see. Fighter coverage and atomic. radar to fight those Sheldons, yeah. Oof. Alright, Green's doing some work up there. Yeah, I think at this point, like, you feel a little lost because, like, you know, there's been a major push on the bottom. You're trying to also hold middle, and there isn't, like, a whole lot that you can do about it. In a way, it's sort of like your team needs to do more. But importantly, you have the good players up north, so you don't really have to worry about that. So you can, you know, I'm sure you already know that, and you're focusing on bottom. Oh shit. Well, that sucks. People forget the mobile anti-nuke or to get an anti-nuke. Yeah, you definitely need one. No, I can tell you that this stuff isn't really necessary. You might be able to cut back on a little bit of your static defense, but obviously at the time when you built it, you know, you thought that you were going to get pushed a lot more, and I can't blame you for that. Okay, advanced infusions. I didn't get to see the ordering of this, but basically once you have the advanced fusion, you might want to just go straight into Aphis afterwards. You don't really need fusions, but I suppose at the same time you are adding on, you know, units as you can, so you know, getting an Aphis would definitely cut into that in a big way, so I guess I don't mind it too much. But yeah, your metal's getting a bit high here now too. Surprised actually. I would think that this build power would cover it. Let's see, that's only... Oh, it's only 9. Okay, never mind. It's just so spread out. I thought it was more. But yeah, more build there would be good. Excuse me. So, yeah, at this point, I think Sheldons are going to start to be obsolete pretty soon here. And they're not going to really get too much of the job done. Another thing that you could do is add on sumos instead of fiends. Like, fiends are good at raiding, but in this situation, people just have these like big, powerful lines, and fiends aren't going to really be able to touch them much. The sumo, however, can take a lot of shots. So having them as like a front line while you have Sheldons behind them with your radar and jammers, and that way you just walk them forward, like, you know, say like towards what's the key? Towards this player. You know, all their Sheldons are attacking the sumos, and then your Sheldons can pick off the their Sheldons. It actually works pretty well like that. And I would recommend the sumo over the mammoth because it's a little bit more cost efficient in terms of like how much hit points it has. It's like 3 times the hit points, but it's 4 times almost 4 times the metal cost. And the mammoths are also a bit slower. One of the things that I wish was working a little bit better is the transports. Like, technically you can use transports and set up like a transportation line to get your sumos like to the front line ASAP, but it doesn't work terribly well, and sometimes the transports are sitting there, you know, with the sumos in hands and then not dropping them off properly, so it's kind of annoying. But I hope they fix that soon. But yeah, I mean, I feel like your issue right now is basically the fact that it's fiends, and the fiends are not able to push through these solid lines, so you can't really do too much with them. And then yeah, seeing all these mammoths are, you know, Red knows the trick, and so he's postured and, you know, and careful. Like, these are a solid front line, capable of taking on quite a bit of T3. So You know, it's not much you can do about it with just Sheldons. You know, like these Sheldons, you know, like Sheldons, reasonable unit, but they had shit, you know, damage. Uh, yeah, Fiends are okay, but they're not going to do great against tanks. Yeah, that's pretty rough. Oh wow. They didn't even need to nuke. Oh, that's funny. But yeah, this is just like a lot of stuff. Like this is a ton of Sheldons. Let's see, this is one player going Sheldon, another player going Sheldon. Actually, this is all one player, isn't it? Yeah. And then you got Hounds up here. But yeah, in terms of your teammates, like there's not much that they're doing. Like, you know, obviously bottom got hit a bit, so they're pretty weak. They got the same thing. They got Fiends and Sheldons, and then, you know, some Thugs. And that's not going to hold off this, even in the slightest. You know, just like this tank line could just barrel through. Let's see, top. Top, green is getting some spam. He can't exactly afford it because he doesn't have that fusion. And then he's also got T3. So this is rough for you because green definitely does not have the capacity to do that. And it looks like he's queuing up too many converters too. But yeah. Let's see, dark green, he's got spam as well. Okay, he does have, you know, money for it though. So I assume his spam is going to be a lot more efficient once he gets his Aphis done. Or maybe he just keeps building Aphis and it drains all the resources. Another nuke. Yeah, in a way, I feel like this situation is very difficult for you because your teammates, because of what your teammates are doing and what happened to them. And just like I said, the sumos I think would help a lot. If you want to do Mammoth, you can do Mammoth instead. In terms of page 2, there isn't really too much here either. There is the Scuttle, which is kind of OP in a way, because it can cloak. That is somewhat of another option. Like if you're able to, you can cloak them, run them into balls or lines of units, and self-detonates them, and they do quite a bit of damage. Obviously, if you just hold space, you see that it only shows the dummy weapon, which is kind of annoying to me. It doesn't actually tell you much of anything. But if you go to shift space, it shows you when they die how much damage they do, and then self-destruct they do over double. And I believe they have just a 1 second destruction, so that might be the thing. And the self-destruct radius isn't bad either. It's definitely bigger than like the Fiends, for example. But yeah, you can cloak them running into balls. They can do quite a bit of damage. Actually, let me compare the. Oops. Okay, so compared to like a Sheldon, let's see, Sheldons are 410 metal and the bombs are 540. So yeah, as long as you kill like a couple of Sheldons a piece, you know, average, roughly speaking, you know, they're pretty cost efficient. Yeah, okay, so you self-detonate it, it's done. Yeah, unfortunately there's just too many. Atomic bombers trying to do what they can, but and it's funny too because I don't really see a ton of anti-air by them. You know, I see your fighter screen to protect. I don't think I saw much of their air flying overhead or anything, so the atomics are actually doing quite a bit of work. Yeah, it's just spam time. Full on spam. Oops, I meant to click on the bomber. Oh, he's getting a little too close to the anti-air. inside to comb bomb. Alright, so there's the T3 from whatever color, mint color, I guess. I don't know. So T3 there. This guy's doing Marauders, which what is he doing with them? And Marauders and spam. Yeah, it's just a rough situation. Yeah, a lot of this just had to do with their push against the hill early. You know, set you back quite a bit, and then them being able to push bottom means they're weak now too, and so now just everyone's weak and you're poised to lose. Even in LRPC somewhere. Yeah. More explosions, people are dying. That's a nuke. And then yeah, you basically lose the base to the spam, but it wasn't really your job to counter the spam because Green was doing his own spam, but they couldn't really, you know, spend everything on just defending you because bottom was leaking so hard, so obviously there isn't much to do at that point. So yeah, to sum up, I guess just like your forward position ended up costing you a lot, and that made it very hard later on to do much. You know, because you're kind of playing catch up in a way from the loss. I mean, I guess like what, you know, the option with getting the extra lab, like getting another T1 lab, in this case the vehicle plants. You know, usually it's the idea is to like push everything, you know, to kill off the players that are doing the T2 together, and to some degree, it's like if you're the only one doing it, then it's kind of hard to do that. But if you are to do it, then trying to find openings and stuff. But obviously, they had so many units that you couldn't really do much of anything. And then yeah, just like the sumos, I think would help a lot instead of fiends, since you're up against like brick walls. But yeah, that's like my 2 cents on the situation. You know, since you're the frontliner, you know, it's not like you can just like rush out a nuke or something, or like the anti-nuke could have been a little bit sooner on your ends. Yeah, just like minor things like that can end up changing the game pretty drastically. So, but yeah, anyways, I think that wraps it up. If you have any questions or anything, let me know. You know, or maybe we can get some more eyeballs on this one because I'm still kind of learning that kind of situation. Like, you know, I am under the impression that like, you know, a strong player can still come back or can still do this or that in the late game. You know, and trying to figure out what it is exactly is kind of challenging. But yeah, on the other hand, it's like, well, you know, if it's an 8v8, and if, you know, some of your teammates also take losses early, then it's like, you know, what can you really do against that many, you know, against a team that hasn't really taken too many losses. But yeah, feel free to ask me questions or whatnots.